Guitar nerds of the internet, what's up? It's Pete Thorne. You heard this device on all of the guitars on the song at the beginning of the video. It's the AMPED 2 from my friends at Blackstar. You've got pedal amps these days, you've got pedal preamps. A pedal amp to me is something that's got power built in. In other words, you can plug it into a speaker cabinet and get sound out of it through like a guitar cabinet. And this does that. And actually the power amp seems to sound really good. Evidently it's got a type of power amplifier that's super high headroom and uses something called current feedback that mimics the feel and damping and stuff of a tube guitar amplifier when it's connected to a speaker cabinet. And then on top of that, you've got some switchable settings here to select different kind of, I think, like modeled or simulated tube types. So 6L6, EL34, or EL84 style tube response. The 6L6 is a bigger bottom end, a little bit more top end, a little more scoop mids. EL34s is kind of, maybe to me, the most balanced overall in this unit. It's got nice big full bass and nice full through the mids, that kind of thing. And EL84 a little bit thinner in the low end and works really well for like some clean sounds and combo sounds and stuff like that. And speaking of power amp settings, you've also got this little switch here to take you from 1 watt to 20 watts to 100 watts. Now, for some of the guitar parts in this video, I'm playing through the cabinet software that is integrated and kind of bundled with the AMPED 2, but that was just for a couple sounds. Mostly I'm playing through my old Marshall speaker cabinet in the other room. And so you're hearing just the 16 ohm output going straight out into that cab. So, it's a pedal amp. It's a true guitar amplifier in pedal format. Now, as far as the amplifier sounds, you've basically got a one-channel amp here that then you can add different effects to. So think about it as straight up sort of gain control, tone stack, master volume, and that's it. There's no channel switching or anything like that, although you can like boost in front of the amp using this drive section and stuff. More on that in a second. But it's essentially a one-channel amplifier, and you can pick from 3 different preamp types. You've got a USA style preamp, a UK style preamp, and a classic preamp. Now, I'm not 100% sure what the classic is, but to me, you'll hear it a little bit later in this video, it sounds a lot to me like sort of like Boogie Mark. I used all 3 settings for the parts at the beginning of the video. Kind of relied heavily on the UK settings for the dirty rhythm guitars, the chunky rhythm guitars. For the lead guitars, mainly using that classic setting because it's got a nice smooth kind of liquid gain sound to it. And for the clean kind of ambient part that started off the song and finished the song, that's the US setting. Let's talk about the effects for a second. You've got a drive section here, essentially with 3 different sounds that you can pick from. A boost, which is like pretty much like a straight up clean boost. Then you've got a drive, and that's a little bit more like, you know, an overdrive pedal, like a screamer or something like that. Although it doesn't really sound like a screamer. It actually kind of sounds better to me than a screamer. And then you've got a fuzz setting, which I didn't actually use in this video. But I did use the boost and the drive, and I used them quite a bit. Then you got some mod sounds happening here. You've got a chorus flange setting. You've also got a tremolo and a phaser. I used the chorus in this video. I didn't use the other 2 for any of the parts in my song. You've got a delay, which sounds and works really nicely, actually. There's 3 different settings. A linear, which is pretty much like a straight up digital sort of delay, an analog setting, and also a shimmer. Now, I think I used all 3 in the different parts on the song at the beginning of the video. It's just simple controls for time, as well as feedback, and as well as delay level or mix. And you can also tap tempo the delay over here with this dedicated tap tempo switch. Then as far as reverbs over here, you got a, let's see, room, spring, and plate. I think I might have used all 3 in the track. Pedal's also got a tuner in it. If you hit both these switches, the tuner comes on. As far as connectivity, a ton. You've got your input here, you've got an output here. This is a TRS jack, I think, that'll output in stereo. I actually didn't go stereo at all in this video or try that jack. I opted to use the balanced XLR output when I went straight into my recording interface and recorded a couple parts using their Architect cabinet software that I could fine tune via USB. So there's also a USB port here. You can plug that into your computer, pull up the Blackstar Architect software, and that allows you to get in and do a little bit of sort of deeper editing into some cabinet modeling, a little bit of EQ and stuff like that, adding a little bit of room mic to the sound, that kind of thing, and get some cool cabinet sounds straight out into your recording interface, or out to like front of house if you want to play live with this device. And I should say, when it comes to cabinet sounds, if you want to store a few and take them with you, you know, when you take the unit out to gig or for sessions or something, you can have 3 different cabinet sounds from the Architect software that you store on the switch right here, and it's just 1, 2, 3, super easy to use. I wouldn't get confused by this, but within Architect software, you can store a ton of presets locally on your computer. And when this unit is connected via USB to your computer and you're using it, let's say as an audio interface, because this is an audio USB interface, you can call up those presets and get a ton of different cabinet sounds. But on the unit itself, it's not like you can store a ton of presets. You've just got on a switch there, 1, 2, 3, those 3 different cabinet presets that you can pull up. You've also got an effects loop here, send and return effects loop, so you can patch in different effects, and it's nice. There's a +4 and -10 switch there for running like pedals or more line level effects. I love that the thing doesn't have a wall wart. It's got a regular old IEC style power cable. And then they give you actually a couple of jacks there that you can hook up pedals to. So this will power a couple of effects pedals if you want to build a little pedal board around it. This video isn't about showing you every sound this thing will make. It was all about making a song, making music, so you can basically hear what the tones are like, what this thing is capable of, at least, you know, kind of upon first impression. I mean, I literally plugged it in today and recorded an entire track with it. So I want you to hear what it sounds like coming through the cabinet. I want you to hear what it sounds like using some of their Architect cabinet software. All right, so here we go. It's the AMPED 2 from Blackstar. I'm using the UK setting. I've got the gain cranked up to like 3/4 of the way up, and I'm on the EL34 power amp simulation, and it sounds like this. Now I added that drive on top for a little more gain, because even you'll notice with the gain cranked all the way up, it's kind of like JCM 800 gain on the UK setting. You know, 70s, 80s. It's not super high gain or anything like that, but you can add the drive on the top and push it over the top. So I'm using the boost feature to push it into a high gain sound. And then I'm using Speaker Sim 412 classic UK cabinet setting, 57 dynamic off axis mic setting. I did a little bit of stuff with the EQ to drop a little low mids and add a little bit of upper mids. And that's about it, really. So that's what you're hearing here. There's a little bit of room mic as well on this sound, so you can hear just a little room ambience. So I just cut one of the leads in the song. It was the first one that comes in with all the super long echo, where I sort of swelled in with the volume. I've got the delay off here and stuff right now, but I'll turn it on in a second. So for this, I'm using the classic amp setting on the switch here. I don't know if this is supposed to be a boogie or something, or what it is, but it's got definitely a different sound than the UK. Let's switch between them. I mean, maybe it's a Mark sound or something, you know? It definitely has a great sound for lead, sort of more through the mids thing going on, and seems to have a little more gain on the amp. So I've got the gain up quite far, and I'm running the mids up high, got the bass down, and it just had a real nice singing sound for the lead. When I add the delay and reverb, check it out. So it really worked good for that part. And I'm using the shimmer delay, which is pretty subtle, the shimmer effect. It's just got a little bit of that shimmery octave stuff that comes in on top, but it's quite subtle. You can hear it in there. It kind of creeps in at a different delay time than the core delay time. So it's interesting. And when it sort of blends in, it just adds like a cool layer of, je ne sais quoi, of ambience or whatever to the sound. So I just chose it. And I'm using the, let's see, the room reverb. And at kind of a medium room setting. If I turn off the delay, you can hear the verb. And if I wanted to add some drive in on this, which I'm going to probably use for the next sort of the main lead guitars in the song, I'll turn that on. We'll see what that sounds like on this sound. So for the last lead in the song at the beginning of the video, I'm just balls out, tons of gain. I'm using the classic amp. I'm boosting it with the drive, which makes it just vicious. So without the drive, there's still tons of gain. And then adding the drive. Lots of distortion and lots of mids. I've got the mids up around 2 o'clock right now, so that it's really cutting through and really screaming. I could probably even get feedback in here just through the monitor. With that much gain, you know. I had the delay on the linear setting, which is like digital delay. It's kind of cool on the linear setting. You can crank the feedback and get a controlled tail, and I did that right at the end of the solo. And it's neat for letting notes just tail out forever. So, in other words... And then I had reverb on the room reverb once again, just on kind of a medium to medium large setting. Thanks for watching my video on this pedal amp, the AMPED 2 from Blackstar. It's a full-featured 100-watt pedal amplifier with built-in effects. You got 3 different amplifier types in there, UK, US, and a classic setting. You got drives, you got mods, you got different delays, you got reverb, you got a built-in tuner, you got tap tempo. You can put this on a board with a few pedals, head out to the gig, plug into a cabinet, or not. Just go direct, whatever you like, do both. Could be your whole rig, could be the ultimate backup, could be a great B rig or second rig, fly rig. The point is, it does sound pretty damn legit, I must say, and I was able to get some good tones out of it, both direct and through a cabinet. Amazing what they are doing these days. They, who's they? Well, Blackstar and other guitar companies. Amazing what they're all doing these days. You can check it out further, that link you see down there in the video description below. Click there, it'll take you to more info about the AMPED 2. There's also a slightly smaller version of this. I've actually got that out on the road right now. I'm using it as a backup. If either of my 2 main amplifiers go down in my tour rig, I can just hook up that AMPED pedal and carry on. Rock on, you guys. I am Pete Thorne. Take care. Over and out.